Hello and welcome to Real Estate Radio Denver, the most important hour of radio heard every Saturday morning here on 710 KNUS. Thank you for joining us today. I am your fill-in host, Tom Gysin. Your regular host, Tom Souther, is enjoying some time in Ireland. Hopefully he's having a good time. In case you are not aware, Real Estate Radio Denver is a show dedicated to building Denver's housing market. Within every market, there are solutions, there are challenges, and there are opportunities. You just need some trusted advice, and that is what we are here to give you every Saturday morning at 9 o'clock on 710 KNUS. We're joined by some nice folks in studio here today that I will introduce. My first is Heather Heuer from Porchlight Real Estate Group. Heather, welcome.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
Yeah, nice to have you. We have Kevin Wachter with Remax 100. Kevin, how are you?
I'm doing great. I appreciate being here, Tom.
Yeah, nice to have you as well. And then my business partner, Evan Harris from Homestead Title. We'd like to get Homestead here as much as possible. So, Evan, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
So today we have a pretty good show, I think, in store. A lot to cover, and I think probably the first thing, guys and gals, is the market. What is going on in the Denver real estate market? It has been a little topsy-turvy over the last 30 days due to interest rates. And I think a lot of people are kind of wondering, where are they today? Have rates gone up? Have they stayed up? Have they come down? What has this effect been on the market? And I think we can have some nice discussion here because it has had a little bit of an impact. Kevin, give me your thoughts.
Well, I think what I thought was going on and what's really going on kind of surprised me. I thought that the minute the rates just bumped up, everybody I was hearing from was telling me, oh my gosh, I'm backing off. But then I looked up the statistics this morning, and surprise, surprise, it's just the opposite. July is even hotter in the first 18 days than June was. So that was an interesting surprise.
Yeah, and I would agree with that because I think for those of us that are kind of in the market, right, and every day that's what we're dealing with, it felt a little different. But that's it. You give us those stats because they were actually astounding. It was about 30% more properties went under contract in July.
Yeah, I just did July 1 through 18 and June 1 through 18. And in June, there were 2,424 properties that came out in the residential market. And, in June there were 1,843, forgive me. And then all of a sudden in July, we're looking at 2,424 coming out. So that's a 30% increase from June until July. So a lot more is going under contract. Those are just the single-family homes that are under contract.
So the interesting question on that is July 3rd was a big day, right, in our world because the Feds, I think it was July 3rd, right? They spoke on that Wednesday, July 3rd, and rates significantly jumped. And then they jumped again. And I think over about a week period of time, we saw interest rates rise over a percentage point, which was the largest jump in, what was it?
I think it was the largest increase since they've been keeping stats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I do think
in that short period of time.
That freaked some people out. But maybe what we're seeing is that got a lot of people either off of a fence, right, and they said, heck, we got to go.
Motivation.
Yeah,
Motivation.
Absolutely.
And I guess that's in any market. Anytime that something affects the market in such an abrupt way, people have to decide, right? I can tell you what we certainly saw from a title perspective was the refinancing side of things came to almost a screeching halt.
Wow.
And it was very interesting. Now we're seeing that starting to loosen up again, but I think part of that is the Fed came back out the other day and assured people that they're going to keep the quantitative easing going. And so rates have actually come back to actually a little better level than where they were before July 3rd. So, it's interesting. I think like anything, the Fed is trying to feel out the market as well to see what it's doing. They did say their priority is to keep interest rates low for consumers to help Main Street, not Wall Street. And
I think that they were testing the waters.
Yeah.
I mean, I really do. I think they were trying to get out there and say, okay, what if we do say something like this, what's going to happen? And they did see some pullback. So I think they kind of yesterday reiterated that they are going to keep the programs going for a while.
Well, and I think one thing that buyers need to consider is what their buying power looks like at different interest rates. So if they're looking to make a $1,500 monthly payment, then at a 3.5% interest rate, they can purchase basically a $335,000 home. But you bump it up to 4%, now they can only buy a $315,000 home. Goes up to 4.5, now they can only buy a $296,000 home. So it really affects what they're able to purchase. So they really need to be careful and lock in those rates as soon as possible with this kind of market.
So, and let's talk a little bit about that, because that's great. I mean, buying power, I'm assuming you're out there, you two, you're showing people, you're putting things under contract. You, I think, Heather, also kind of run part of Porchlight, right? So you
That's
see
correct.
that from a bigger, more of a global view. Did you see a lot of people fall out of contract due to the fact that they maybe were maxed on their buying power at a 3.5 rate, or 3.75, and hadn't locked, and it jumps up to 4.5? Did they get axed out of the market?
We didn't have very many of those specific situations, mainly because we really work with our agents to make sure that they are communicating with the lender and getting those things locked in. But I am familiar with that happening across the board.
Yeah. Would that be a question, Kevin, that you would ask a buyer and a lender as you get them, whether in your car, you're meeting with them, is what if rates change?
Oh, absolutely. It's a discussion with everybody these days. And I think the other thing, though, to keep in mind is that the affordability of homes is changing on two dynamics, not just the interest rate, but also, as we're seeing, actually increases in housing prices again. Yay. But according to the CAR report that they just released for the second quarter.
In what's CAR?
Sorry, didn't mean to acronym you guys. Colorado Association of Realtors.
Thank you.
And with that, they just released their quarterly report, and it had affordability still at a 190, which is extremely strong, but it's down from about 260 of last year at the first quarter. So, yeah, it's gone down, the affordability of homes in the Denver metro market, but it's still great. So people need to be moving now, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw an article on that the prices are going up, but they've been more scared about the interest rates going up. You know what I mean? But that combo can be tough for sure. So, we're going to take. We've only got about 30 seconds here. So when we come back, let's dive into a couple of the topics on Kevin that you brought up on some of the myths about what people think about working with agents, what they need to do, don't need to do. We'll keep covering a little on the market and maybe some of the percentage increases that we have seen in home sales, and we'll just keep this good dialogue going. So thank you for joining us on Real Estate Radio Denver on Saturday mornings at 9:00. We will be right back. Thanks for joining us. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Denver. I am your fill-in host, Tom Gysin, and I am happily joined by Kevin Wachter from Remax 100, from Heather Heuer with Porchlight Real Estate Group.
Hi.
Welcome. And Evan Harris, my business partner at Homestead Title. How are you, Evan?
Doing great. Thanks.
Great. Well, we were talking on the first segment there just about, the market. It has been crazy. I think it's kind of, it jumped up a bunch in rate. The rates have kind of settled off. But overall, things are still hopping, right? And let's talk about that. Not, the refi side is one thing, and that has, it has settled off a little bit. But the purchase side, that's really, I think, what fuels things, right? Is doing really well.
Absolutely.
And let's talk a little bit about that, because home sales or home prices have gone up. I don't have those stats. I think somewhere around 12+%. Is that on average? Maybe on an average, but Heather, you can answer that a little better probably.
Yeah, home prices have definitely gone up. And what we're seeing across the board, and these stats are directly from June, was that 55% of closed transactions were at or above asking price. And so that naturally raises the market. And also 42% of these homes went under contract within 7 days. So it's really a feeding frenzy out in the marketplace. And we're finding when we're going to homes in any neighborhood, doesn't have to be a specific neighborhood, a core neighborhood, Wash Park or Bonnie Bray or San Rafael. It could be anywhere in the marketplace as far as the suburbs of Lakewood and Castle Rock. But we're seeing that when you're going to look at a home, there's 8 or 10 buyers that are there with you at the same time.
Wow.
And all of you are thinking, oh my gosh, I got to get that house. And so you start making your offers. And people are making offers that are above asking price. They're eliminating their inspection obligations. They're saying that they're going to take out their appraisal conditions. They're doing everything they can to get these homes. And then they're saying that they'll bring additional monies to the table if the home doesn't appraise. And they're okay with that. So they know they're buying an inflated product, and it's fine.
Yeah, that's so interesting because, we've been in this lull for a number of years, right? And then it seemed like in January is when everything, if you look at the stats, where it really just took off, right? And where this appreciation has happened. And also, already we're talking about inflated markets, right?
Yes.
6 months later. But listen, to your point, is people are okay with this because they want the house.
They want the house. There's no inventory. They got to get it. They want to get their kids in the schools. They are okay with the defaults in the home. The seller says, I'm not going to fix electrical. I'm not going to put rate on it. And the buyer says, what's $1,000? I'll take it.
That's just crazy. So how do you, as an agent, how do you guide somebody into what to offer?
You have to be careful because in 3-5 years, something happens to that buyer and they have to sell. You need to let them know that this is not going to be the market in 3 to 5 years, and that there's going to be there's not an expectation that they may make a ton of money like the seller that they're purchasing from. So you have to be really clear that you know what's going to happen because you want to represent them on the sell side in 3 to 5 years, but the buyer needs to be careful to know that there may not be as much money on the table at that time.
And there's really no way for you as an agent or a buyer, obviously, unless you just see 10 other people at a house, right, looking at it, whether to offer $5,000 more, $10,000 more, $20,000 more. How do you know that?
So it's going to depend on the listing agent. As part of the listing agent contract, there's actually a clause that says the seller allows the broker to disclose or not disclose the possibility of other offers on the table. If the broker has the opportunity to disclose that, then it's kind of the discretion of that agent on what they want to do. Some agents are willing to say, yeah, my highest offer is at $357. Can you beat that? It's non-contingent. They've waived their appraisal, whatever. Some agents don't feel comfortable doing that, and they just say highest and best. And when they say highest and best, it's really a free-for-all, and it's up to your buyer to make that decision. And it's really important that the agent allows the buyer to make that decision.
So when you see those listing contracts, what's the percentage that want the agent to tell people what the highest price they've received so far?
I'd say it's maybe 20%.
Okay.
Most of them are afraid to do that. They think if they tell, then they're not going to get a higher offer over it. We also see a lot of escalation clauses.
Yeah, I was going to say, I couldn't remember, was it acceleration or escalation clause? That's what I was, the word that I was thinking is, describe for the audience what that means.
An escalation clause means that the buyer makes an offer at a set price. Let's say the price of the home was $350, which is our average sales price in the Denver market right now. Says, I'll make my offer at $350, but I'm going to escalate that offer by $1,000 over the next highest offer. And usually it'll say up to a purchase price of, say, $375. And so then the seller would say, okay, my next highest offer is at $367. So the first offer would essentially be a $368 offer price.
And you still have, the buyer still is giving them a timeline to respond in,
yes.
Right? So they may say, hey, you've got 24 hours to get back to me to tell me if you're going to accept my $350 offer with an escalation clause.
Correct.
So what if the listing agent has no other offers but comes back and says, I have an offer for $362?
If a good agent will write into the offer that they want proof of the competing offer.
Right.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
So we have to put that in.
Yes.
Yeah. I just had one in University Hills that was on the market for about 12 hours. And I had 7 offers, and went back to the client and asked how she wanted to handle it. And she said, well, I don't want to go through this very much because 5 of the 7 offers are all over what we asked. And we priced it we priced it at the very top of the market, and still it was they were all coming in over. So we went back and we asked for highest and best, and I had 3 offers identical at highest and best. So it's amazing how people are responding to that, and they do have to be careful because the appraisers their heads are spinning right now.
Yeah, how's that piece going?
Yeah, that's a very important part.
Well, yeah, they need to realize when they buy that house, if it was $3.25 and they're paying $340 for it, they need to realize that appraisal has to come in at $340, or they're coming up with the dollars, because I don't know many agents that would just roll over and say, okay, we'll go back down to $3.25.
Right. And that's a very key point to make with the seller, because the seller gets really excited when they list the price at $325 and they get a $340 offer. They're thinking, wow, I'm getting $15,000 more. This is the best thing that ever happened to me. And we got to go back to the seller and say, okay, calm down. Don't go buy a new car.
Exactly.
Okay, we got to wait here because we got to make sure that appraisal is going to come in. And so what the buyer's agent needs to be prepared for on their end is that as a listing agent, we're going to come back and say, are you prepared to bring $15,000 to the table if it doesn't appraise? And that needs to be done in writing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I know we've addressed that here on the show before because sometimes the highest offer isn't the best offer.
Correct.
Right? You need to make sure that the money, the extra money or whatever is available from that person. And that's a great point.
Well, another part of the contingency is this where someone has to sell their home to buy the new home.
Yes.
And you get 4 offers, and I'm seeing people go, okay, we won't do that. Well, then you better be going back to the lender, making sure the lender's good with that before they make a statement.
Yeah.
You might need to get more proof of funds. And those are things that, the sellers need to be aware of, because if their agents aren't doing that, they could be in trouble. It won't come through, and then they'll be back on the streets a little later, starting over.
So do you meet an appraiser? This is interesting. An appraiser always will say, I need comps, right? I have to have comps. Well, there are no comps, but I have 10 offers on a property. So the market is the market, right? Do you show that appraiser those 10 offers so that he can see that, the demand is there, and although there are no direct comps on this, we have to set the bar somewhere, and the market is setting the bar by giving me 10 offers.
Yep. You bring every piece of evidence you can to support that price.
And how is it going with the appraisers? Are you finding that these properties are appraising?
It depends.
Yeah, I haven't had many problems in the last 3 months. Once in a while, you get an appraiser with this system they have where they just arbitrarily pull an appraiser out. Had one come down from Breckenridge to Applewood Knolls, and he was, we're not supposed to influence the appraiser. That's part of the thing. And yet the appraiser's calling me going, you got to help me, Kevin. I have no idea. Are these houses really worth this much in this neighborhood?
So
Yeah.
this was an appraiser that was part of the appraisal management company that was just
From Breckenridge
pulled
to
out.
come to Applewood Knolls. So
They're
not,
busy. Yeah. They need to
That's
pull them in from everywhere.
well, but the point is
It
that
is.
that's crazy. Is you can't have somebody coming from well, you can, I guess, but they don't know what's going on.
They don't
right?
know.
And I can tell you actually from that experience is what's going on in Breckenridge is the second home market up there and Winter Park and all is still soft.
Right.
So it hasn't
Exactly.
got there yet. But so they're probably
That's the softest region in our state right now.
mountain.
So those
Mountains.
appraisers are bored.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, Heather, tell me a little bit about inventory. Obviously, we've talked about this over the last number of months, and you see it. As a matter of fact, I saw a great commercial the other day. I think that was from the National Association of Realtors, where a couple was looking to buy a new home, and the one spouse said, "No, let's go ahead and wait." And the funny part is, while they're waiting, the sign riders being put up that they see it online. Oh, there's the agent putting a sold sign in as we speak, and the message of the commercial was inventory's low. You just don't have a lot of time to sit back and ponder. Where are we in Denver with inventory? Obviously, it's low. What do you know the numbers?
I don't have the specific numbers here, but I can tell you that inventory is rising. It's not the same market that it was in May and April.
Okay.
But that said, it still is a low inventory market, and you don't have a lot of time to really think about things. You got to be out there. You got to be ready to go. Most agents are out looking at homes every day, one house at a time, because we don't have the luxury of being able to preview for our clients, which is what we would prefer to do, to
Sure.
be able to eliminate property. Your client has to see every single one to make sure that it's the right fit or not, so they can make that offer right away.
Yeah, sounds to me it's an education process for sure for a buyer to say, "Are you ready?"
Well,
Right.
the inventory is only up 2.5% this last quarter over 2012 last quarter. Thing about last quarter in 2012, nobody was buying.
Yes.
So there is a slight increase in inventory, but it still isn't keeping up with the people that are pent up and held back for since 2008, maybe, to buy a home. They're ready to buy. They're ready to move. They're ready to make that family change, whatever it is. 5 years is a long time. And so we really need to see the inventories go up 6-8% probably to see a calmer market.
That's true.
Is that a fair number?
I think so.
And in your opinion, Kevin, what will move people to put their house on the market and get that inventory up? Why is that not happening?
Wow. I'm supposed to answer that question. huh?
People are afraid to put
You want me
their
to change that over to Evan?
Evan, why don't you?
I'll try it.
I have an idea. Give me a second. Go ahead, Heather.
people are afraid to put their homes on the market because they're afraid they won't have anywhere to go.
And
That is
because
one
they
of the
can't
factors,
can't find a
They
place.
can't find a place. They're
hearing
afraid of
that
that
a lot.
inventory. So we see a lot of stuff in MLS that says seller needs to find a replacement home. And so then we're writing offers that say the seller can have rent back for 30 days, 60 days. Now, most
Right.
lenders will only allow a 60-day rent back period. So it does give a cushion, but we're also coaching our sellers that you may have to make a double move, and nobody wants to do that.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's obviously not a
No, that's
preference.
a real good one. That's a real good one. I just had that. These people, I knew their house would sell in days, and I was wrong. It sold in 4 hours, but they bought. They did some repairs on the townhome they're moving into. Just as Heather said, it was you want to fix it, you fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And they went in there, they fixed it. We put the house on market 4 hours later. It's, we have multiple offers and just needed to shut it down.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, bottom line is it's booming. Yeah. And I noticed, I read an article too about foreclosures. That they've had the worst. They're 35% down, and I think I don't remember the article here, but a massive low in foreclosures. And there's always been that talk of there's that shadow inventory and all that. You know what? I think that's not the case here in Colorado. I just our numbers are staggeringly low, and I don't think people are going to see a bunch of new houses flooding the market in the foreclosure side. What is your take?
I don't think so at all.
We're still seeing them come out, though.
They're
of course. Coming out. It's only gone down a couple % over the last 6 months. So the foreclosures released. So it isn't like they've disappeared.
True, but there certainly isn't 500 homes waiting to be flooded.
Exactly.
Yeah, you hear a lot about that. We need to take a short break. We'll be right back and continue on. Thank you for joining us. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Denver. I am your fill-in host, Tom Gysin. I am joined here in studio by some nice guests. We have Heather Heuer with Porchlight Real Estate Group. Sorry about that.
Hi there.
Hi there. Kevin Wachter with Remax 100.
Glad to be here.
And Evan Harris with Homestead Title.
Thank you.
Yep, nice to have all of you here. So I think we've covered a lot on the market. You know what? The good thing is, I kind of give a recap on this, is had a lot of volatility in the interest rates. They seem to have settled back to some of the pre-July 3rd levels. I'd say interest rates somewhere around 4.25-ish. I'm not a mortgage guy. I can't quote rate, but I don't know. They're somewhere around those levels, but much better than when they were pushing 5%.
And jumbo's under 4 now suddenly. Wow.
Yeah, well, and that actually that brings up an interesting thing is, you know what? Even in the last 2 weeks, we saw lenders coming out with new programs to continue getting business, right?
Absolutely.
And so it is important for the consumer to realize, even when rates jump up and or change, or there's some big instance that causes change. The reality is, this is a big industry, right? And people need to keep the pipelines going. And so we will always see that. And from a consumer standpoint, it always behooves them to check with the real estate agent, check with the mortgage broker or mortgage banker, because there always are new programs going on. And like I said, I just saw things that one lender was dropping credit scores from 600 to 580 because at the end of the day, they need volume to come in, so they're willing to take on a little more risk to get that volume. And I think we'll always see that. I know on ARMs, adjustable rate mortgages, even when rates jumped up a percentage point, ARMs barely moved, right? And so all of a sudden, you probably started hearing some of that advertising on radio, some of the radio stations with some of the mortgage companies, is they were saying, hey, maybe ARM's an option for you. And it's a great point. I have an adjustable rate mortgage myself. I know some people don't love them, but I think for the right situation and the right person, they should be looked at. And so at the end of the day, I think, the market is robust. Mm-hmm. The prices have gone up. The rates have kind of settled back a little bit. It is a very good time for people to do something, and I think people got a little bit scared. I wouldn't doubt if some of those numbers that we talked about in July were simply because people were like, oh my, I've got to get off the fence because some stuff's happening here, right?
Hey, one more fun number, because it surprised me when I looked at it, because I don't usually look at the entire Denver metro market. July 1 through 18, over $1 billion worth of real estate. Residential condo, residential income properties, and land went under contract.
Wow.
So we are at a big industry. I was like, that's what I said. I was like, wow, that's a big number.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think all of that went through Homestead Title. That is.
Well, you better
It
get
will
to
from
work.
now on.
Yeah, exactly. We better get to work. So we're going to change gears a little bit here. And Kevin, you know what? You brought some great talking points, and I think this is great because, you know what? We're trying to help people, and obviously we're in an internet age, right? A digital age. And it has changed our landscape, right?
Absolutely.
I remember when I first started in this business that the MLS books were still being issued, right? And that's how agents knew what the new listings were as the new book got delivered, and they flipped through it and said, hey, let's see what's on the market, right?
Those were every week, weren't they?
I think they were every week. They
a
came
lot of
out.
paper.
And you remember, you could actually gauge how the market was doing by the thickness of the book, right? Is how that was. But we won't talk about our age and all that. Now that we're in this internet age, right? It has changed things. People are sitting in their living rooms, they're getting on their computers and they're searching listings, right? They
Absolutely.
have access through IDX to get to all of the properties that are on the MLS, right? The multiple listing service. And so different things happen. It's like, okay, one of the myths, well, maybe I'll let you talk about what some of those myths are, and we'll have some dialogue.
Okay, well, the internet is a gift. There's no doubt. It's helping people be more informed. I know everybody I'm getting, whether it's a listing or a buyer, they're much more informed than they were just 3-4 years ago. And so that's a good thing. I think one of the other things, though, is, one of the myths that I kind of enjoy, I know I'm going to upset some of you realtors out there, but this list that you need to list with your local broker. Well, I can get local so fast in a market that it's not even funny, because I still go out to those homes in that neighborhood and look at them before I go to my listing appointment. Where a lot of people that are comfortable, that have been working one little neighborhood for a long time, they aren't looking anymore. They're only seeing the homes that they're listing or that their buyers happen to buy.
That's true.
And with the data we have available, with the tools we have, the general tools that the consumers have, and then supplemented by the powerful tools we have in the MLS and with the National Association of Realtors, we can get data that goes far beyond. And I can, in a day of looking at homes and doing analysis, get really, really expert in that neighborhood. And so having to have a local broker, I'm in Lakewood. I live in Golden. I sold a house in Boulder 2 weeks ago. And I had it priced perfectly. Everybody came in and said about right all the feedback was, and we sold it in 4 days. And so obviously we had it priced fairly well. And so that's one of the myths out there. Like you say, it was paper catalogs back then, and a little hard to know what was going on because it had one black and white picture in it.
But you are right. The fact that, getting neighborhood information, school district information, all of that's the information, just all the things that people want to know.
Walk scores that we see on even the consumer sites, all those wonderful information that's out there.
And you're just real quick on top of that, your title company's a great resource for some of that stuff as well.
Yeah, because Evan sends me these wonderful little requests that I have. I would say, I want to know something about this area in Golden. Evan shoots it out to me so fast it's not even funny. Thank you, Evan.
That's great. Heather, so your thoughts on what Kevin just mentioned there?
I think he's absolutely right. And what the buyer also needs to know is that they may be able to get all that information online themselves, but they really need an agent to help them sift through it all and make sure that all the information that's there is accurate. There's a commercial, I forget which insurance company it's for, but she says, "Oh, I saw it on the internet."
Must be true.
It must be true, exactly. So that's something that our job is to make sure that our buyers and our sellers are making the most educated but the most educated choice that they can. And they need someone that's in the marketplace every day and sees all the stuff every day to be able to help them through it.
Okay. So now,
actually,
go ahead.
Real quick along that lines, I think Porchlight does a kind of market class, right? Every Thursday or something like that.
Yes, we do.
Tell us a little bit about that real quick.
Our other managing broker, Mark Eskinos, teaches two classes every week. One is for Denver market education and one is for suburban market education. And we actually have a 25-week program that we put our agents through in which they have to preview 25 to 50 homes a week. And to do that, you get a really good snapshot of the market in that period of time. And the reason why it's 25 weeks long is because our marketplace is huge. There's 25 core neighborhoods in Denver, plus the outside neighborhoods around those 25. And then suburban market neighborhoods, of course, will be in Lakewood and Castle Rock and Littleton and Westminster and Thornton. And we want our agents to be as educated as they can about those markets. And that's knowing the shops and the restaurants and the streets, and if the curved streets have more value than the straight streets. It's just a really important tool to make sure that agents are the most educated for their buyers.
Yeah. And what about crime and things like that?
So that data is something that we're not allowed to give to our buyers or our sellers. We can certainly direct them to the local police stations and whatnot, but demographic stuff can sometimes be a little bit tricky, and we don't want to steer our clients into an area or out of an area for something that they may have a personal choice against or for. So we can allow them to make those decisions themselves by pointing them in a direction to do that type of research.
Is that illegal from DORA, or what is it?
It's an ethical standard, yes.
It's an ethical standard. Oh, I did not know that. Mm-hmm. Okay, great.
Now, that's an important one. We don't say, oh, there's a sexual offender next door. We give them the sexual offender's website, and we tell them, if that is your concern, you need to go here, and you need to, here's three or four websites you can look at that will tell you where the sexual offenders are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but to your point, you can get this information, but I wouldn't even have thought of that, by the way. So that's another really good point about why you have an agent.
Absolutely, because there's people that have been victims of sexual violence or something, and they're very sensitive about it. That's something they need to know.
Yep.
But we can't deliver that. We have to deliver where they can get it.
Yes.
Good information. All right, we're going to come back and we're going to do some more of these. It looks like we have 3 or 4 other kind of myths that we want to cover here, and it's good to hear the dialogue between you two to see if you'll agree on all of this stuff. But thank you for joining us on Real Estate Radio Denver, heard every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. I'm your fill-in host, Tom Gysin, and we will be back in just a minute. Thank you for listening. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Denver, heard every Saturday morning right here on 710 KNUS. I am your fill-in host, Tom Gysin, and we are joined in studio by Heather Heuer with Porchlight, Kevin Wachter with Remax 100, and my business partner, Evan Harris from Homestead Title. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much so far. I think it's been a great show. And we're going to take a quick thing here, and I want to give each of you a chance to give your phone numbers in case people would like to learn more about Porchlight and or Kevin at Remax 100, just getting a hold of you and Kevin. So, Heather, tell us a little bit about, just give your phone number and a little bit about Porchlight if you'd like.
Sure. My direct line is 303-514-9471, and you can also email me at heather.heuer@porchlightgroup.com. And my last name is spelled Heuer, which makes no sense, but that's what it is. I just wanted to let everyone know that Porchlight we've been around for 6 years. Our market share is right around at 4th within the Denver metro market area. We've been growing really fast. Our agents are well trained. We make sure that the agents that come on have a real strong background in the sales market. And our goal is to net sellers the most money in the least amount of time. I think that's what most agents would say as well. But what we do for our agents to educate them is we include market education. We do contracts class. We have boot camps for new agents, and we also have advanced boot camps for returning agents, so we can really track their progress and make sure that they are proceeding in an upward trend, that their business is always growing. If our agent's business isn't growing, then Porchlight isn't going to grow. So we invest lots of time in that. For our sellers, we provide services such as staging, cleaning, virtual tours. We have a field services team that goes out and puts in all our signs for us. For our buyers and sellers, they're also out there doing our open house sign program, in which our field service team signs all of our open house listings for us, because a real estate agent, the worst part of an open house is putting up the signs. So we do that for our clients. We also have proprietary software. We have a 4-person software development team in-house, and they've been putting together our website, which is porchlightgroup.com. And on that, there are heat maps, there are tons of stats, there are different neighborhood models, and all of that's available to the public. Our company has been tracking sales in the metro area since 2003, and we provide all of the stats on each individual neighborhood for those. Anybody that's interested in getting it, we can just email it to you, give us a call, and let us know where you live, and we'll be happy to send over those neighborhood stats for you.
Give that number one more time.
My phone number,
yes.
303-514-9471. We also do different events around town. We sponsored the Sidewalk Chalk Festival down in Larimer Square. We did a painting and pottables party. We're doing a Rockies game. We're in the process of putting together a summer party, but we really want to give back to the community because the community gives to us, and we think it's really important to give back. And we also want to make sure that that people know that we really want to make sure that our agents, again, are as educated as they can be so that we can then pass that information on to our clients so that they're as educated as they can be about their purchasing and their selling.
Yeah. Well, I can, from personal experience, I've seen you grow a lot, and you have a great reputation out there. And it's fun to see another Colorado company has been started and is doing great.
Mm-hmm. It's a great place to be, and I'm very excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's great. Kevin, tell people a little bit about how to get a hold of Kevin Wachter.
Sure, thanks. My phone number is 720-320-1191, 720-320-1191. And my email, you can reach me at either kevin@homesbygolf.com, or you can reach me at kevin@kevinwachter.com. And my last name, difficult to spell too, Heather, is W-A-C as in Charles, H-T as in Thomas, E-R. W-A-C-H-T-E-R. Kevin@kevinwachter.com. And I'm with Remax 100. We're one of the smaller Remax franchises in town, one of the higher producing per agent organizations in town. Managing brokers Jim Weichselbaum, been around for about 35 years.
Yeah, and actually a very good broker.
Yeah, he's exceptional man, and keeps us very well educated, very strict about the integrity of how we do business, and very thorough. So I'm really thankful for him. And we're my business is residential, strictly residential. I do have this homesbygolf.com. I work a lot in homes in golf course communities. And we have our website, homesbygolf.com, is an IDX, which means it searches the MLS and pulls out only the homes in golf communities. So if you have golf as an affinity, you need to check that out. And I have a little thing that we do. We do for anyone that even has a listing appointment with us in a golf community, we give away 2 custom club fittings with Stan Sayers, who was the Golf Pro of the Year in 2012 for the Golf Professional of the Year, and he's the director of golf at the Colorado Golf Club, and has another operation over at Broken Arrow. I can't remember the name of it.
Broken T.
Yes. Broken T. And I can't remember the name of that group over there, and forgive me, Stan. But he is an exceptional club fitter, so you do a listing with us, and you and your friend or spouse can go out, or child, and can go out and get a custom club fitting at Colorado Golf Club, which is pretty nifty.
And that'll only cost them about $4,000 after they buy new clubs, right?
Well, that's up to them. I'm covering the $500 on the front end.
Yeah, yeah. I'm kidding you. That's I'm a big golfer, and I know a bunch of people who have gone to some of the other shops, and you don't come out without paying a little bit of money.
Right.
But it's great. But you know what? If you get better results, who cares?
Exactly. Yeah, I think the other aspect about my business that's a little different than some, I have a specialty program I'll be rolling out in the next month for agents who really want to leave the business and can't. A lot of agents work until they die. Mm-hmm. And it's a sad, sad thing, but because we're independent business people, most of us, independent contractors, I felt it was time we brought a program to market that gave them a bit of a pension plan. So that'll be marketed under Kevin Wachter's SMART team. And so if any of you out there are agents looking to get out of the business and still have a nice income going forward, give me a call, 720-320-1191. Thanks.
Great. Thank you both. Actually, that's great. So we have some time here, so I do want to get this out here. One of the things you put down here is it's a hot market. So why can't somebody just get a discount broker, put a sign in the yard, and move on?
How many lawsuits should we talk about, Heather?
I know. They can do that if they want, but the problem is that the seller doesn't know how the market works, and they don't know how the contract is read, and they don't know where to find the proper forms to be able to file. And frankly, the highest form of lawsuit is through the seller's property disclosure, and if people don't know how to fill that out properly, they don't understand why it needs to be filled out, and it becomes more difficult, I think, and and leads to the lawsuits.
So that's the leading lawsuit is basically how people filled out the seller's property disclosure?
Yes.
And is that because they filled it out incorrectly or they...
Whether it was intentional or not, yes.
I gotcha. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's good to know.
You know, one of the other experiences, so I have a buyer and we go into one of these homes that's listed online by some guy in New Jersey, and they paid their $4.95 fee or whatever it was. And I'm getting calls more often from the seller than the buyer asking me to help him figure out how to do his contract and how to do his compliance to the contract. And, it's my job to represent the best interest of the buyers. So that probably cost him a lot of money. And it not
probably cost the seller a lot of money?
Cost the seller a lot of money because there's things that he could have or should have done had he known what he was capable of doing, which was absolutely not my responsibility to reveal to him because I'm representing the buyer, and they were the buyer's rights that I'm protecting in that case. So
and time.
Absolutely. And, I told him, I said, you need to go find your broker in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that would have been my comment for sure, right? You hired him, you didn't hire me.
And I think along with that is that a lot of sellers tend to negotiate against themselves. And so for sale by owner or someone that's using a limited listing service, they want the deal to work, but they often leave money on the table where it should have been priced. And then it comes down to inspection time, and they're giving things away because they want it to work versus having an advocate on their side that says, hey, we can negotiate this so it's a win for you. And I think that they end up just negotiating away a lot of their money.
And over time, the national statistic is that they end up netting 14% less.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's the historic. So they think they're going to get more because they're not going to pay those aggressive brokers all that money. And they end up netting 14% less. And that's what it's about. And people who are selling their homes need not to think about what the commission rate is. They need to be listening and paying attention to the service package that's being offered and understanding, what am I going to put in the bank at the end of the day? Mm-hmm. What is the net? That's what they need to do.
And working with a professional.
And
we all have a job.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know Heather well, but I know her organization, and I know that she would probably agree that they get more for their buyers.
Absolutely.
Because I do.
Well, and a thing we were talking about...
Buyers and sellers. I meant sellers in this case.
We were talking off air about even, the difficulty right now in how to price a home, right? And so even people are getting all these multiple bids. However, if you start high, the irony in our market is people aren't making offers.
No, they're not going to overpay intentionally.
Yes, yeah.
Until it comes down to a bidding war.
Which is exactly right. So it's kind of like finding that perfect little balance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if somebody that isn't really in this market, I don't think is going to be successful doing that.
Right, full-time agents that are doing this all the time are aware of that, and because that's one of the key skills we have to acquire.
What about just one of your other things? What about just calling the listing agent and going directly to them instead of hiring a buyer agent or doing a buyer agency?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that'll save people money. That's what they think. Had a person do that last summer on a very expensive home. Went in there, thought they'd save money, and they called me because they thought maybe I could help them when an attorney told them that he wanted $15,000 to fix their problem.
Wow.
So, the commission to me would have been $28,000 on that home, and they ended up having a protracted problem, a lot of anxiety, spending $15,000. And you know what? Anybody that doesn't realize this, often our listing agreements, we are required to take the same amount of money as though someone who didn't. That's a decision and a negotiation on the seller's part. We can either take the entire commission or discount that. That's a discussion. So in many cases, there is no discount whatsoever by having the listing agent sell the home and not having a buyer broker in place. So you need to figure there's a cost of the level of service you need to safely buy a home.
Right, and the listing agent they don't want to discount from whatever they've agreed upon with the seller because they're doing more work now.
Well, I was just going to say,
Exactly.
is the listing agent, I've had people say that, you know what, don't come to me expecting to get a discount, simply the fact that I have to do both sides now.
Because if I have to work with a buyer, why wouldn't I just go get a buyer and get the full commission from some other buyer? Why do I need to deal with this one at a reduced rate? It's not a good business model. Our time is very expensive, and our time demand is very high. So we need to get paid for that.
Yeah,
Glad to hear you say that.
Yeah. Well, listen, we have to wrap this up. So thank you both for joining us today. I think you offered some great insight into not only just your company stuff, but what's going on out there and what people need to be doing. And so at the end of the day, it's a great time to buy. It's a great time to sell. Rates are still wonderful, but trust your professional, find your professional, and let that professional do what they do every day, and they will help you. So thanks very much. It's been a good show, and we will see you next week.